Okay, we are live, and I'm with my great friend Emanuel. So we're going to talk about something that's really awesome. So if you're just joining us, we'll give it obviously a few seconds to chime up. Amanda, can you hear me? Okay, am I
Yeah, I can hear you. I
sounding
can hear you just fine.
okay? So I'm like in this soundproof room, but it's kind of
Nice.
overlooking the city over here.
Okay, that's beautiful.
Yeah, so that's my amenity. This is an amenity in my own place. So it's pretty cool. All right, cool.
That's
We got some
awesome.
people rocking and rolling. Welcome, everybody. We're going to get started here in just about 30 seconds. 30 seconds. Welcome, everybody. We're going to be talking about when we should quit, when we shouldn't quit, what things in our life we should quit on. It's a really good topic. And I'm joined by my great friend, Emanuel here. So we're going to get started right away. So, Emmanuel, we're going to talk about the subject today. It's a subject that I think is a little bit controversial because I think we're triggered by this a lot. I think in sports when we're kids, you were a skater, you were a musician, you were in military school, especially even if you want to reference some of your military training. But this whole thing adage of don't quit and don't give up, and I love it. I used to show this clip from a football movie. You've probably seen it
Yeah.
where the coach says, hey, I don't know what he says, but I can't repeat it. But it was just this empowering, like he was blindfolded or something. And he had to like
Yep.
go on his knees and don't quit, don't quit, don't quit. Right. But there are certain times in life where we do need to quit, like quit smoking, maybe quit swearing, maybe quit addiction, certain addiction. So I want to get into that today on both sides of the fence because I think people that are watching today, they might be even in a relationship that either they have to quit or maybe they need to stay strong and maybe fight for it. I also think in relationships, I think people tend to give up too easily now in 2021 because of the internet and options and dating apps, which they might think that the grass is greener on the other side. So there's so many different directions that this kind of live can go into. But let me just start with referencing who you are. If anyone that's watching, this is Emmanuel Ceballos. Like I said, beautiful person, amazing, what we call healer. So what that means is he's a energy healer. The modalities that he studied in are both the body code and the emotion code. He's also just a world-renowned leader. Okay, so he's a leader. So he's not a follower, he's a leader. But he was a great follower to become a great leader, and he has been working in this world of energy healing for 6 years now. He's worked with thousands and thousands of clients. I, on the other hand, I've been conscious coach, go, 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 don't quit, take action. But I needed him a lot in my life in the past couple of years, and just understanding how energy and balancing that out could really make the difference of you quitting the right things in life and also quitting the wrong things and staying the course. So, Emmanuel, I'm going to kind of set this but this presentation up for you first. Give us a little bit of your take on what do you see trends now in 2021? Let's talk about what maybe we shouldn't quit on first. What do you see trends on when you're dealing with thousands of clients, challenges that people have? What are you seeing the most that people maybe are giving up too easily in their life?
Okay. First of all, thank you for that introduction. I appreciate it. You make me blush every time. But I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful for your leadership and all the things you do. I know there's thousands of people that are blessed by your book that you wrote, You versus You, and just by your leadership that you've really just gone like skyrocketed in business. And so and you
Thank
can
you.
only do that if you help other people. So
Mhm.
but for those of you who are thinking of what to quit, what not to quit on, the first thing I want to share is this: is that one of my biggest, funniest fears. People always have like funny fears. One of my funniest fears is that later on later on the line in your life, you find that there's like some sort of like twist ending going on, where you're like, by the way, you have this handicap. No one wanted to tell you, and this is what you have to. It's almost like, whoa, that was not expected in the story or the script. But let me tell you, the scariest kind of surprise ending is that if someone were to tell you that you've been sort of energetically handicapped from day one. And people don't like to hear this, but this is something that
Mhm.
everyone needs to know, because what people need to quit doing, number one, is to stop self-abusing yourself. There's actually an energy in the emotion code and body code with the work that I do called a will
Mhm.
to die energy. And a will to die energy basically means that you're too much in your head, and basically it's so bad that you're in your head that you want to leave this earth because you just had it. I mean, all of us have been there where we've kind of self-abused ourselves to the point where we're just like, I need a time out from life. And we have to stop doing that, because we would only do that if we're ignorant that the fact that there's emotional energies in our body bothering us. But if you're starting to hear this information now and you're like, wait a minute, energies in my body, emotions, wait, so I'm not at my best right now? No, everyone is slightly energetically handicapped, so we shouldn't be self-abusing ourselves saying, oh, why me, why me, why me? It's like I want to hug that person, say, stop saying why me. Trust me, if I looked into your subconscious and we did muscle testing and I found some things, you'll realize why you are the way you are, and that you could be way further along if you just address that version of yourself. So I think that's the number one thing is don't self-abuse yourself with why. There's an app for that, and there's a reason why you're in the situation that you're in, and there's a way to fix it. What about you, Todd? What do you think is one thing that people should right now just start quit doing and may really help them out in the future? What's your thoughts?
Like quit doing or not quit doing?
Quit doing.
Oh, quit doing. Self-sabotage. I mean, kind of what you're talking about. It's like self-sabotage. I think we do it. And if you recognize the patterns that you are self-sabotaging yourself in, I think you just need to write them down. And self-awareness leads to a choice to change. But if you look at like, I guess in your 20s, if you're watching this in your 20s, then cool. Self-sabotage all day long, because you do have to learn. But I think in your 40s, because I'm 40, you're about to be, 24. So with that Peruvian skin. But anyway, I've learned a lot. I wish I could go back, but at the same time, I don't want to go back. So all of the mistakes that I've made, all of the self-sabotaging things that I've done, and at that time, I didn't even think it was self-sabotaging. I think we all have narcissistic tendencies. That's not a bad thing. I'm just letting you know we all have it. I'm not saying you all are narcissistic people, because I think I think we need to quit putting labels on people. I really do. I think a lot of times people are just like, you're narcissistic just because the guy wanted to go out with his buddies tonight and not maybe massage your back. But anyway, we got to stop putting labels on our partners and stuff like that. But it's a real thing. But I think writing stuff down that is holding you back. Like, for instance, let me give you a couple of examples. Procrastination is a huge self-sabotage. They say procrastination is the cornerstone of poverty. So if you wake up one day and you're 40 years old and you're broke, you need to go back to how many things that you put off and how many things that you said no to. Another thing is bad addictions. And I'm not talking about horrible addictions. We'll get to that maybe in a second, but I'm talking about, cigarette smoking and swearing. And you might not, some people might say, well, I cuss and swear all the time. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but I think in certain circles, if I'm F this, F that, I'm not going to gain the influence that I could gain if I just stop saying the F word. Now, again, I'm not judging anyone that says the F word, but I'm just saying in, let's say, a business discussion or on a Zoom, I'm not going to go F this, F that, because some people might look at me as an amateur.
Sure.
And some people also might not care, and they might think I'm cool. Hey, he's awesome. He's more of a hipster. He's cool.
Yep.
But I never want to offend somebody, especially in a business. So maybe stop self-sabotaging your business. These small things that we do, I think not working out, like you're talking about self-love and stuff, like not working out consistently, not meditating. I think the number one thing that you can do to self-sabotage yourself is not meditation and not taking time in the morning just for 15 minutes minimum, just for yourself. Because as you know, and as everyone that's watching this knows, we have a lot of decisions. We know that 60 to 90,000 thoughts happen in our brain every single day, 60 to 90,000 thoughts. So if we don't really pause in the morning and also in the middle of your day, I mean, I don't know about you, Emmanuel, but today my day's been filled with walking the dog multiple times, calls, interruptions. I have a loved one right now, going to the airport, canceling a flight because of sickness, being there for people, being there for my family. And that's okay. In fact, I write in my book, You versus Your Routine. It's okay to have disruptions as long as they're good disruptions. But a bad disruption, we got to quit the bad disruptions. We got to quit looking at Instagram when we're doing, when we're working, or Facebook, or scrolling, or wasting time when we could be more productive. So I think these are certain things that you do need to quit if you want to be more productive, if you want to make more money, if you want to also have more happiness in your life and not regret anything, especially when you're pretty much 40 and beyond, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's powerful. One of the things that, and I know you're someone who's obviously mastered, not sabotaging yourself, because in order to be successful in business, they say that success loves speed, right? So,
Yeah.
obviously you had to go out there, you weren't walking slow, you built it very, very fast, and you knew that worked. And so there's really, if you have some high achievers that you're working with, everyone's looking at the leader. You have to set your example, and so you couldn't procrastinate. Literally, it's almost like you're locked into not procrastinating.
Right.
One of the things I wanted to share real quick to anyone is that one thing that we should quit doing is quit hanging out with people that have the same problems that you do. And I really feel more than ever, now that I know about the emotion code, body code, when I work with people, they always get kind of surprised when I say, you actually absorb this emotion. They're like, absorb? Yeah, you got this from somebody else. There's some guy around this time, and then they're like, I only hung out with my friend, whatever. And they're, because of association, their association bleeds on them, and then they're able to, now they have the emotion themselves. So if this person's frustrated all the time, you absorb a frustration emotion. Now you're easily frustrated in your life. You see? And so it's just really important to like keep the right association around you. If they're not all of them committed to self-growth, then you're going to be basically get bled on all the time, and you're wondering why you keep getting stuck. And because you're too nice, it's hurting you, and because you're too comfortable, it's hurting you. One of my favorite singers of all time, Mike Patton from Faith No More. He's my favorite singer. He could like sing anything, heavy metal to jazz to salsa music. He said, he says, I never want to go into a room where I feel comfortable, a room full of musicians where I feel comfortable, because
Right.
he realized if he ever gets into that room, he's stopped growing. And
Yep.
so I one time when I met with my buddy Zion, and I look up to him a lot, and he's been an entrepreneur since 19 years old. I've always admired his work ethic and everything. And I told him, it was a very humbling thing to say to him, but I said, I've worked really hard to be roommates with you. It's like, it's taken me a while to like humble myself and to say, you know what, like I choose good positive association. And I have to make, it's one thing for me to be comfortable around him, but successful people also like to be comfortable around you. You see, so
Right.
he wanted to be my roommate, which means he admired the person that I was becoming.
Mm-hmm.
So I just think it's very, very important that you are sharing energies, you are absorbing energies, and who you think is not bleeding on you is bleeding on you and is affecting you
Yeah.
in many
Well,
ways.
I also say, what you're talking about is I think we also have to quit listening to opinions of our friends and family. And there's certain times where it's appropriate, but there's most of the time it's not appropriate. And especially when it comes to matters of the heart and your personal relationships, maybe with a significant other. I think we live in a society, not even a society, just I think it's a natural human instinct to,
Yep.
when you're dealing with a problem in a marriage, when you're dealing in a problem with boyfriend, girlfriend, you go to your best friend. And it's just like in the movies, all the romantic comedies, it's just like, oh, me and so are having a problem. And then they just spill their guts. They tell about the whole relationship. And now the opposite person is almost in contempt.
Oh yeah.
And now the girlfriend is taking the girl side, or the guy is going to take his bro side, the guy friend side. And then let's say it patches up, and then they go to a barbecue the next week. It's really awkward because
Yeah.
one of them just told way too much information. So I'm not saying don't, I'm just saying be very careful when it comes to matters of the heart, because nobody knows, even your own mother, they don't know the significant relationship with your partner, especially marriage. So don't just split out all of the things on how you're feeling, because feelings are fleeting. But obviously, in serious things, it's okay. But just if you have a little fight with your boyfriend, girlfriend, wife, husband, just go for a walk. Talk to your dog about it. Don't go talk to your mom about it and your brother, because eventually, also, if you keep doing that and you don't quit that, your own family's not going to want to talk to you, and they just don't want to hear it. So that's one thing that I would give up. And also, when it comes to business, let me very, very clearly tell you this: the reason I've been pretty successful in business is because I didn't give a about what my friends thought ever. I never thought to myself, what is John going to think? What is Bob going to think? What are my best friends going to think if I join a network marketing business, or if I start a company as a CEO? I never went to them first and said, what do you think about this? Well, be careful. It's like I don't need that. If I want advice in business, I need to hire a business advisor. Does that make sense? And I know people are like, well, I don't have the money. Well, then you shouldn't start a business. You do need advice, but you need to stop listening to people more screwed up than you. And this is the death of most people that have great goals, they have great dreams, big intentions. They just go to someone that's never started a business. They're not a millionaire. They're not making even six figures a year from home. And they're asking their friend's opinion, who maybe has a corporate America job for 30 years. What do you think about me working from home and starting my own business? Oh my God, that's the scariest thing ever. Why would you do that? Be friends with them, go out to lunch with them, but don't listen to business advice from somebody that's not a business person. And I'm telling you, these are, and even Napoleon Hill talks about in the book Think Grow Rich, like you got to stay away from getting advice from people that have no idea what they're talking about. And also don't Google stuff. If you really want a business to work, seek mentors, seek coaches, seek energy healers that will listen to you, but then also walk through, how to help you and how to serve you the proper way.
Yeah, that's great advice. And what's so funny is that now I can laugh about it, but I remember how much it affected me when friends would not be open to what I used to do. So I was on
Mm-hmm.
that side as well, and it hurt me, at the end of the day. But here's what I also realized too, like now if we can do like hindsight, is that
Mm-hmm.
those people who are the ones that are like, they say that are against you, they're cheering for you when you make it, and they always say, we knew you had it all along. We knew you were going to always do it. Let us come into your
Mm-hmm.
new home, Then I'm like, I can't fix my lock. I can't open my door anymore for the people that were talking, crap about me before. So,
Mm-hmm.
so
Yeah, right.
it's almost, it's always funny. It's like, I just feel like the people that criticize the most will applaud the most. And they only applaud because they only want to celebrate when you're doing well, but they're not willing to
Mm-hmm.
be there during the trials and tribulations. And that's when you really need a friend at the end of the day. So
Yes.
when I started becoming more successful, I started getting advice from successful people, and it was so different. Like, and Robert Kiyosaki talks about this, kind of like the Poor Dad, Rich Dad. He talks
Yeah.
about how the rich dad is very encouraging. It's almost like and so I would tell my buddy Zion, for example, who does very well, has millions of dollars. He told me, he said, "Hey, I'm thinking about doing this." See, even if he doesn't know what I'm talking about, he's like, "Emanuel,
Mm-hmm.
you could do anything you put your mind to. I have no doubt
Right.
you'll do very well in that." And that's so
Mm-hmm.
different from where I was before, when someone would tell me like, you think you're going to do that? Like, who do you think you are?
Yeah.
And so I think it's a really good point. I've been on both sides of the spectrum. It's
Yeah.
better to be on
Yep.
it's better to be on this side where there's wealthy people telling you how to like handle wealth. but
Yeah.
but yeah, I definitely want to also share. I think something that's very, very important is that um, you don't have to. A lot of people, they want to be good at so many different things, like
Mm-hmm.
30 different things, and it's just like for me, the reason why me, or you've known me
Mm-hmm.
before, is because I laser focused on energy healing, and I
Mm-hmm.
was committed to go to every seminar, meet with people when I didn't feel like meeting with anybody. I woke
Mm-hmm.
up at 5 in the morning before my job because I wanted to meet with somebody in Switzerland. Like, I made these small little
Mm-hmm.
decisions of like, I'm going to laser focus on something. Now I'm known for this. But see, what's kind of cool about once you have success, and maybe Todd, you might speak on this, is that once you
Mm-hmm.
have influence, anywhere you go, the influence follows. You see, and that's something
Mm-hmm.
that
Yes.
a lot of people don't realize, that once you get up there, that's why, like, for example, once you go to become a bachelor in the Bachelorette show, now a lot of Americans have seen you now, and then hopefully what you do is you ride the wave to something else,
Right. Mm-hmm.
and because now you've acquired influence. So I've
Mm-hmm.
always wanted to be in the place of influence for good. I want to provide value to people. I didn't know it was going to be, my tool was going to be energy healing. But if you
Yeah.
haven't found, if you think you're going to be like, I'm going to do 30 things, hopefully something falls through, you're doing it wrong. You need to be like, I'm going to really hone in on this, and let's just see what
Mm-hmm.
I make out of it. Create the influence, then you can move, because now you have the influence. I don't know if you can probably speak about that, Todd, a little bit.
Yeah. Well, I want to talk about, because you have about 10 minutes left. I want to talk about what things to quit. Because with influence, because the more influence you have in a positive way, the more people are going to follow you and trust you. And I think that's kind of breaks down relationships, is when there's a lack of trust and you got to build the trust up. But with influence comes more trust and more kind of, notoriety, if you will, not just in relationships, but in business, etc. So I want to talk about what not to quit, because I know we've been talking about what to
Yeah.
quit, and there's a lot of, I'll start it off by relationships. Just, obviously it's controversial because I'm all for getting help and not in quitting something that's very abusive. And if it doesn't change, I'm not saying abuse is, your spouse yells at you and gets upset and maybe they had a bad day and, you need to forgive and, hopefully they have a forgiving heart or they ask for forgiveness. I get that, but I'm talking about like ongoing abuse year after year after year. And it's just like, it's never changing and there's no hump, there's no change there. So, I mean, obviously there's some situations where you do need to quit, but what I see in relationships, how beautiful it can be when 1 out of 2 strive to fight for it. And I know we come from similar faiths. How important is it for you when you do find that person, when the going gets tough? Because I think, honestly, you look at the 1940s in America, the 1950s in America, obviously we weren't alive, but we've read the history books. The Americans back then were strong. Marriages were strong. This country was strong. People were just strong. They wouldn't put up with some of the things that people put up with today. And I'm not trying to get political, but why do you think it is in 2021 that the strong man, the strong woman, it's hard to find? And it's almost like rare when you find someone that's battle tested, that makes conscious decisions to not give up on their partner and read the Bible and see what God says about marriage or what God says about certain situations and not what CNN says and their favorite anchor or what the world's saying, because you can get in a massive problem of destruction when you are listening to the world advice on, especially now in 2021. So what's your perspective about that, about how can we be strong and maybe not quit certain things, even though the world might be a lot weaker than it used to be?
2 things come to mind. So the first one I would say is, definitely we all have to understand that we are taking the brunt of all the traumas have been brought down to us. So yes, you're right. Maybe a couple decades ago, there was some really strong people in America. I mean, there were like 10-year-olds owning a house, probably like in Virginia, like, building their own house at 10 years old. Okay. Now they can't even like turn on an iPad,
Right.
So but what has happened though, is that these people were so culturally programmed to be strong, but that doesn't mean that their subconscious wasn't suffering, that they didn't have lack of integrity, and that their subconscious was hurting and scared and had fear and dread. They probably went through it, but their conscious culture pushed them forward. But see, now when they created that emotion in the subconscious, that got passed down to us. And so we take the weight of all our great, great, great ancestors that suffered, that maybe no one addressed their trauma because they had to deal through it through who knows how they had to deal through it, but they just had to find a way to deal with it. I know it's very common. I was reading this book once about how special prophets had it back in the day. And what I mean by that is that, for example, prophets had something really great, which is they had the power of the night sky that wasn't dissipated by the lights in the cities. See, here we look up in the sky, even in Layton, Utah, there's so much pollution in Salt Lake, but you don't really see the sky for what it is. But back then, when there was like no cities, no cars, no nothing, when it got dark, you saw the magnificence of the Milky Way. See, that's something that you cannot say there's not something up there above, And if you were walking with no fire, you could fall into a hole or get eaten by a bear. I mean, it was like darkness was scary, It was like you had appreciation for light and fear for the dark, So that's something that was kind of like, that was a gift to our ancestors. Another thing is that back in the day, it was okay for you to walk away from your family and say, I'm going to go to the mountain and commune with the higher self or commune with God. Nowadays, if I were to tell my wife right now, I need to go commune and go to the mountains, they'll think like I have depression, that there's something wrong with me. I have suicidal tendencies. I need to be in a strip jacket. You see? So the culture has changed in a way where it's like, we can't even go and commune anymore like the way we used to. You see? So
and that's interesting. Yeah. Because I don't see a lot of people by themselves meditating, just taking some time out and just really thinking. But I think the wise man, the wise woman really is one that just pauses. If they're going through something, I don't think we give enough credit just to thinking. You know, it's not daydreaming. It's actually just thinking about, okay, what scenarios, and get that prudence, to get that wisdom, especially in hard situations, because we don't want to regret. We don't want to make quick decisions, even if it feels right. Because I think nowadays it's like, is this in alignment with my feelings right now? And it's just like that's like the worst thing. Because what's in alignment with my feelings right now is probably not being on the StreamYard with you. What's in alignment with my feelings right now is, I don't know, just probably doing something that probably is not going to be, just
I
probably
thought we
going to
were
sleep
cool.
right now.
I thought we
No,
were cool.
we are for sure. It's fun. I want to do it, but I'm just saying, like, sometimes I'd rather just nap, in the middle of the day, but I never do it.
Sure.
But sometimes I'd rather. But what's in alignment right now with my feelings is not in alignment with my being productive and my purpose and my calling. So when you have purpose, when you have mission, you're not going to always feel like doing certain things. But I think in the act of doing them, it's amazing. And then the feelings do come in, like, okay, good. I made a good decision. I was prudent, because the compound effect, as you know, and I know, that slight edge will either pay us in the future. And I'm not just talking about money, but I'm also talking about money, or it will deplete us in the future of money and also of other resources. So it's just being prudent, being wise, being thoughtful, being mindful, and taking that time for yourself, and not caring what people think of you doing that. It's very important.
Yeah, I think too. I know you mentioned earlier, about reading the good book too. One of the things, I'll just share this one quick minute thing, and then I'll pass it back to you to end it. Is that I really feel that no one really tends to ask me like why I like to read the good book. Like, everyone has their own. Some people read it because their church tells them to. Some people read it because they need their time out from their family, and it's almost like a spiritual cigarette that you need to take. But really, the reason why I love reading it is because it's the best book about unconditional love. It's the best book. And really it's about a perfect being keeping his arms stretched out still to humanity that keeps falling behind. You see? And I just if I can even have a 1/10 of that type of love, which is called charity, if I could just have even 1/10 of it, this world would be very different. Everyone would be very, very different if we just had that type of like, why does he keep saving the human race, even though we make so many mistakes over and over again? See, that's if we had that type of love towards humankind. But see, the only way that you'll become like that is you have to emulate. And in order to emulate, you have to read. You have to know the diary of someone who is forever caring.
So true.
Once you read enough of that, your frequency increases, because you're just like, now I know how my father acts in front of everyone and how much he cares for humanity. By the way, I'm part of humanity. And so I think that's, people don't ask that question. Why do you read? That's why I read. I love to see a perfect father keep reaching for his children over and over and over. That's my favorite story. And if we can just emulate that love and just mirror it and just pass it on, I think we would know what to quit and what not to quit if we had the Creator's love embedded in us. But if you want to just share any final comments there, that's what I want to share.
No, it's really good. I mean, not much to say about that other than I agree. I concur. And when I notice myself drifting away from that, the good book, the Bible, right? I find myself, my life is a lot more in kind of chaos, if you will, because that's like our path, right? It even says the path, that's our path. Almost like the Wizard of Oz. It's like, you got to be on the yellow brick road. We all have to have a path. We can't just, we have to have direction. We're human beings. We're very vision oriented. So I think the problem is, there's other books out there that are not so good on the path, and maybe what's cool today is not so cool tomorrow. But if you look at that book, it's been around for thousands of years, and you can debate it all day, even if you don't even believe in God at all. I just feel like it's good it's a very inspired book. You can be very inspired by the stories, like you said, in unconditional love. And who doesn't want unconditional love? I mean, somebody that says to me, I don't need unconditional love, they're just lying. They're literally lying. So they're maybe too cool for school, because we all need mercy. We all need grace. We're all going to mess up. And I think we also need to give people grace and mercy for decisions that we might not comprehend. Like, for instance, staying with somebody because they're fighting for their marriage. I think the worst decision, or the worst thing that you could do to somebody, is tell someone to get a divorce. I could say that all day to you. You could say that to me. I could say that to anyone. Hey, your wife's being a what, or your husband's being a kind of, you should just divorce him. Move on. That's the worst thing you can do, because you don't know. And we have to be very protective of
Yep.
what we listen to and who we associate ourselves with. That's why the Bible, for instance, is a good path to what does my creator think of my situation? What does my
Yep.
creator think of my health? What does my creator think of what I need to put in my body with vaccinations or not to vaccinate? Not what Joe Biden thinks. Okay. I could care less what he thinks. I don't care if he's the president. I want to know what my creator thinks, who created my body, to not what's my anyway. I'm not trying to get political, but I'm just trying to make a point that I think we live in a society that's just, hey, whatever, what are you guys doing? Oh, you guys are getting the vaccine? Oh, I'll get it too. Hey, you guys are eating that kind of food? No, I guess I'm a vegetarian too. But you might not need to be a vegetarian. You might
Right.
need red meat for your blood type, okay? So it might not be
Yep.
very healthy for someone to be a vegetarian, no matter how much you love animals. So we just have to get smart and wise. And obviously, a great place to start is Proverbs. So that's a great place to start. But Emmanuel, let's end. I know we got to end. I got a call. I got to take in about 4 minutes. But going back to what I said, going back to what you said, prudence, wisdom, coaching, energy healing. What would be something that we could talk to them about Inside Out Institute, where we can maybe do a call? I can do a call with them. You could do a call with them. You could even do maybe a live healing or free healing. What are your thoughts on that? What can people do that are watching this? Maybe get a hold of us.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to go ahead and just comment below and just, say like free call or something like that, or maybe you could write either coach or heal, because I mean Todd's really,
Mm-hmm.
he's just an expert. I mean, to say the least, of like kind of coaching you on how to move forward. And me, that's my expertise, is doing energy healing. If you put coach or heal down there, you've never met with us, and maybe you're like, you know what, I'm ready to take my life to the next level. Honestly, without Todd on my side, it's really like we're missing out on really productivity and how to like become very effective in every area of your life. But then
Yep.
if you sabotage yourself, and that's your common theme, then that's where I come in, because there's a reason why you're holding on to things and not letting them go, so you can't run, because you're holding the ground behind you. So I just think it's very important that you need both sides. It's kind of funny. We're on the left. I don't know if you're on the left side or the right side, but it's kind of like we're split screen, and like to split the brain, right? Conscious and
Mm-hmm.
subconscious. And really, I feel like if we address both of them, then this year could be very, very different for everyone who's listening
Yep.
to us right now. So I just want to say thank you for having me on here. I always love enjoying talking to you, bro. And I hope
Yeah,
you
you
gain some
too.
value from this, and hopefully you take action. Like I said, if you're doing the same thing over and over again and not getting the
Yep.
same result, you gotta say, what if Emmanuel's right? Maybe I do need energy, or what if I never had a coach before, but why would I get a coach? It's like, let Todd explain to you why you need a
Yeah.
coach, and then it'll make sense to you, because him and I were both resistant, probably to coaching and probably to healing, but at some point we broke down so much that we were open to it, and now we're here and we're having the
Yeah.
success we're having. But trust me, we were
Right.
both resistant too. So thank you guys so much for being on here, and we look forward to next week.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Appreciate it.